Hello everyone, welcome to 2015 and welcome to the 21st episode of Brave Frontiers Unit Analysis. My name is Traylox, I'm joined by Storm and Nova.
How's it going, guys?
Hey everybody.
Tonight we'll be ranking the Eris batch. We'll talk a little bit about the New Year's dungeon and the upcoming Terra dungeon. Ranking the units is done on a 1 to 5 scale, 5 being the best, which is then recorded on the bottom left of your screen. As we rank the units, we would like to invite you to participate as well. To vote, go to www.bfpioneers.com. Tonight, your vote will count as 33% of the overall vote. So let's start off today with the New Year's dungeon. And, well, New Year's dungeon came out and it was like 5 days of just imps, sphere frogs, burst frogs. Nova, what's your opinion on this event?
Well, this event was actually, I think, in the works for about 6 months, if you guys didn't know. There was an unreleased picture that went around like 6 months ago that actually showed a time when all the vortexes that they had planned were up for like 2 minutes, and the people who were in the vortex at the time actually took screenshots of this, and one of this was the year-end dungeon, which is the one with the burst frogs and imps, and we were kind of missing that for like a really long time, especially when imps were introduced. A lot of people were wondering if they would have a dungeon similar to that, like the Japanese version, but never came out until New Year's, and it was a little late because I know in the Japanese version that's been going on probably like 2, 3, maybe 4 times. So we should have had one when the imps and sphere frogs and stuff were released, but I guess we're getting it now.
Mm-hmm. And as you may all know, you had the chance, so far at least, to get 2 sphere frogs as of today. Storm, you want to talk a little bit about how they can, use the go to the imp dungeon and like pick the imps they want, kind of?
Yeah, I got you. All right, so on my stream the other night, we wanted to test something. We wanted to see if you could force close the app while you're in the imp dungeon. Let's say you went through the imp dungeon, all you got were recovery imps, which, to be honest, nobody's really looking for the green imps. They're looking for the yellow, the red, or the blue. And so let's say you went through there, you got 4 or 5 recovery imps, you were pretty upset with it. We wanted to test and see if you could force close the game, go back in, and go right back into the dungeon and get a brand new set of imps. And the findings we found out were not only could you force close it, but you can actually give up in the middle of the dungeon. And, I mean, you're going to lose your energy regardless, but you can go back in there, you can get a completely different set of imps. So this also works for the burst frog dungeon as well. If you're not looking for crystals, you've got some energy to spare, and you're really hoping for more burst frogs, you can drop out, you can go back in. As long as you do not complete the quest, you can go back in and get a different batch of what you're looking for.
Interesting. Personally, I haven't tried that, but I think that's very useful if you do have the energy to spend. And yeah, those yellow and red ones, they're quite useful. So I really like this event personally because, well, you know, you don't have to have a really good team. Actually, you don't have to have any sort of team, and they give you just free stuff. So who doesn't like that? Well, next, there's another event that's coming up on January 8th. This is the Terra dungeon, which is the Earth version of the dungeon. What do you guys think of Gumi telling us like 1 week ahead of time? Do you like that idea, Storm?
I do like that they're actually giving us a heads up about it. Most of the things that we get in the game seem to be ninja patches. The way that Gumi normally tells us is by us data mining them. So it's nice to actually have that face-to-face interaction with them on at least some level.
And Nova, I think people are like asking like, what can we get from this Terra dungeon? How hard is it going to be? What can we get from it? Is it going to be like those fire... the Vargas dungeon?
I believe it's actually going to be sort of similar style to the Vortex dungeons that we've been having, where you bring an entire Earth team and then you try to rank up, similar to the Thunder Vortex arena we just had. And I was actually kind of confused because that was a total like mess, not gonna lie. So if they fixed everything by then, hopefully they did. If they didn't, then it's gonna be another huge mess. Uh, so
Hmm.
it's probably gonna have the same rewards if it's like that, unless they're actually changing it, which would be great.
Do we know anything about the type of spheres that we're getting, or any rewards?
Rewards side, it's pretty much going to be the same kind of formatting as the Thunder Vortex Arena, if it's going to be like that. Because if you have one for each element, you just got to look at the rewards for the previous one and go like, okay, replace all of this with Earth and replace the other element, I think, with the opposite element, and then you'll pretty much be set with your rewards and rankings, and we'll probably get another useless 5-star unit.
Well, we'll see about that. But let's hope that it's something better that some free-to-play players at least can use. All right, so that's the events that has been announced so far. Now, we have these new units, and 3 of these units have been released. So, what do you guys think about the release schedule? Do you like the fact that they released 3, and then they're gonna do a Terra event, and then release another 3?
Well, it's interesting to see them changing it up. We're used to a very specific release schedule as far as units go, and they've been mixing and matching with it a little bit lately, and it's interesting, but I don't think I like it. I actually would have preferred that these units get their counterparts and then their 6 stars. I mean, it's nice that we're getting these elemental rates up. It gives us more chances at trying to get the units we want of a specific element. But it's not nice that I have to wait on this to happen and then another batch to happen and then wait a bit longer for 6 star forms of these units that I want to use today to come out.
Mm-hmm. Nova, do you have anything to add?
Personally, I think they need to lengthen the time of these rates up and give free gems every time they switch it. That way, people can actually, have gems to rare summon for them. Otherwise, you're basically switching it up once or twice or even 3 times a week, and you're basically kind of giving nobody any time to kind of get ready for new rare summons, which has been going on for like the past 4 months anyway. So hopefully they calm down, take a breather, like go back to their old schedule, which was like, hey, new units out like every 2 weeks, and then you can have like special rates up for the off weeks. But you really need to have rates up longer, I think.
And what I want to see from Gumi is, I want to see their 6-star forms immediately. Like, I have these 5-star forms, and they stay in my inventory until they get 6 stars. So I'm not using these units anyways, and you're giving us the 5-star form. So I don't really understand that part, but that's Gumi's decision. With that, let's move on to the new batch. We're starting tonight with the fire unit Eris. So Eris, what does he do? Well, he can refill his own BB. So now we have units like Rogan, Lilith, Sergio, and now we have Eris. Nova, how does he stack up against the rest?
Well, being that right now you can only give him a 5-star form, he actually seems to be okay with his BB, unlike the others, whereas they just gave like a single attack bang, and that was it. Eris, on the other hand, has that same single attack, except he actually gives pretty decent BB gauge fill for the rest of your team. I believe it's 7 battle crystals, and even for a 5-star, that's pretty good to have. Really low BB cost anyway, so for single target, I could see some people bringing Eris for their team if they don't have Rogan or Lilith, until he gets his 6-star, obviously. I still don't like his leader skill though, the crit damage plus. Um, He doesn't give inherent, crit buff like other units, which I think is more important. Increase crit chance, because you still need to run either like an Ultor or a Trident, or you need to have an SGX to really make it useful. And that's really specific. And I just don't think the meta now requires that kind of leader skill anyway, because they still have Maxwell for that.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, he is one of those units that will turn into a BB spam all day, every day kind of unit. So I'm gonna probably give this guy anima typing because you put a divine stone on him. All the other stats go up by 50%. That pretty much covers all those. So you just need a little bit more HP. And I think I'm gonna give this unit a 3 stars because if he just had that single target damage and that was it, that would be like a really low 2-star. But the BB fill for 1 turn is nice and it is useful to have. So that bumps him up to a 3-star for me.
All right. And I would like to remind you guys that you guys can participate in voting as well. Go to our website. We have a criteria set up on the left hand of the website. It'll show you what the rankings actually mean from 1 to 5, and then you can vote alongside with us. Storm, what's your take on Ares?
I really think they should have named him Ares. They should have been Ares, the Fire Phoenix God of War. I think that would have been cool. Would have been a lot cooler. Anyways, I think sprite-wise, this batch is like the best batch ever. They have really amazing looking sprites for this particular batch. Now, Ares' leadership skill is called Flashing Edge. It's a boost in critical hit damage. It's 100% boost to crit damage at level 5, or his 5-star form. And this is only 50% less than what Zebra is currently doing, for those of you who are interested. Now, this kind of falls in the rank and file. Another BB spam unit who doesn't have a good leadership skill, which this is pretty much the same as Rogan, Lilith, Sergio, etc., etc. What you're really looking for is his Brave Burst / Super Brave Burst. Now, his Brave Burst at the 5-star form is called Slashing Burst. It's a 9-combo powerful fire attack on single enemy, and it boosts the allies' Brave Burst gauge by 7 BC. Now, that's 1 less than than Zell Knight gives at his max form, which is amazing. He does 8 hits on his normal, which are about 2 drop checks apiece, so he's a 16 BC generating unit on his own. My opinion of him, though, is that if you're going to have this DPS unit who's just there to do just a burst hit every single turn again and again, Breaker is the way to go. Breaker gives him a 2100 attack stat, which is really, really respectable as a 5-star form, which is really good in my book. Hopefully his 6-star form will come out and he'll have an even higher attack stat. He'll boast something close to Rogan's. They can just do crazy damage together. But I definitely have to give him Breaker, and I would give him 4 stars because I love units like this who are just focusing on so much damage.
All right, so it looks like Storm loves this unit. And what did the viewers think, Nova? Did the viewers love this unit as well?
The units got a lot of love. Got some 9 votes here for 4 stars as well. They agree with Storm. Second place, 3-star at 5 votes.
The viewers know what I'm talking about. Attacking is everything, baby.
Single target attack, apparently.
Yeah, okay, but let's not be picky here.
I like AoE better.
All right, next unit up, Belfura. Okay, so Belfura. Belfura's BB has a chance to reduce enemies' attack and defense by 30%. Storm, this question's coming to you. Do we need this kind of BB skill for the content that we have out right now?
No, we don't. Right now, we have amazing units. We have units that are so far advanced for the content we currently have that we pretty much just overpower and just straight beat down anything that comes our way. The fact that we have Rogans as quickly as we do is just, we can knock through any kind of content currently out there with just the pure amount of DPS they put out. I mean, there are a couple of things that Gumi has tried to do, Gumi has tried to do that are a little bit more mechanic-y, but this is not one of the things that helps out there. Maybe someday we'll see a use for this kind of Brave Burst ability, but as of right now, it's kind of like Defense Ignore. It's only for gimmicky type fights.
Mm-hmm. And how would you rate Belfura?
Plot wise, there's a huge amount of plot in this one unit, but other than that, we don't have much going for us. Now we have 9 hits. We've got a Brave Burst that only costs 25 BC for 12 hits. She's got pretty decent stats, but I mean, even for a 5 star, they kind of fall short. Having a 1600 attack that can only go up to 1800 as a breaker is pretty on the wayside as far as attacking goes, and this is definitely an attacking unit. Now, the leadership skill is something that not a lot of units have, and it's called Pandemic Spread. It's a chance of inflicting a couple of different elements when attacking, and that will include all of your units when they attack. Now, unfortunately, it's a very low percent chance of it happening. I believe it's 7%. So with that kind of odds, it's really just a crapshoot in the dark. It's not even worth worrying about. I'd rather go with something that is a guarantee,
Yeah.
like HP or something like that.
Yeah.
So I'd have to go with her at this current form. I'd have to give her 2 stars.
Okay. And your favorite typing, please.
My favorite typing is going to be Breaker because Breaker, I mean, again, it's an attacking unit, and Breaker barely brings her up to 1800 attack.
Gotcha. All right, Nova. Now this BB skill that I mentioned, are there any other units with similar BB skills with like a debuff?
Yeah, so Gumi started including this new mechanic that we recently saw in the Fiora batch, which is kind of like kind of different than a status ailment. It's like an enemy debuff where I don't think any unit can kind of get away from it, so you can always inflict a certain chance on it. And we had the 50% attack decrease for 1 turn on units like Fiora and Arden, and now we get a unit like Belfura who has 30% on attack and defense for 1 turn. So it's definitely a unit that you want to start your turn with, so you can get that defense ignore if it shows up. I kind of like the mechanic because there are way too many other units that we have already, just for certain roles, and unless you kind of feel, like you're the best in that role, you're kind of thrown off to the wayside. And, it's nice to see that there are, different kinds of skills out there, but it's not something that we really need right now, especially at a 5-star form. It is better than a lot of other 5-star form BBs though, because a lot of 5-star form BBs is just like an AoE attack or a single attack. So it's nice to see that these, even at their 5-star forms, have something extra. Belfura as a unit, I like her stats wise, because you get a little bit more defense than attack, but I'd have to agree with Storm that attacking is kind of important, but I don't want to ditch defense either. So for the New Year's, I'm just gonna rate this unit anima typing, give her 3 stars. Uh-oh.
Someone broke the Nova and replaced him with an anima lover. What happened over New Year's?
Well, let's see. Lance and Pika are not here, so someone has to take over anima.
Fair enough.
Nova.
Fair enough.
All right. What did the viewers think?
They are disagreeing with both myself and Nova and giving her a strong showing at 5 stars with 9 votes. The closest competitor is 4 stars at 5 votes.
It's crazy.
Yeah, and then we're tied at a deadlock with 3, 2, and 1, all having 2 votes.
Well, it looks like Belfura has some love, more than Eris, and all right. Next unit up is Farvnal. Now, there's a lot of different translations. There's like Farivnal, I don't even know, but Farvnal. This is the unit that they came up with for the English version. So, Farvnal, he's one of those units that adds an injury effect to your team's attack for 3 turns. And we're going to see a lot of this in the future units, such as Shara, Priscilla, and Varft. Now, is this a guaranteed injury effect, Nova?
This injury effect isn't guaranteed because I think it just gives the ability to injure for your team. So if your enemy is injury resistant, they can't get injured anyway. It would be nice if it broke through that and still had the percentage to inflict it. I think that would be a lot more useful. But as of right now, things that are immune to stuff like that will still be immune.
Okay. Is the chance of inflicting the injury 100%? Do you know? Because I was just
I don't
curious.
believe it is
Okay.
because it's like that leader skill of inflicting random status ailments. Instead of having that as a leader skill, it kind of gives that to your team because for his like 5-star form, I believe it's like an 18% chance for injury.
Okay. And what do you think of that unit?
I like the concept of adding, instead of having it in a leader skill, you can bring a unit to if you're just looking to injure things. And I do think that injury is one of the better types of status ailment to give because it actually makes you live longer. Injury greatly reduces the attack output from a boss. And I think it's probably necessary to have in certain situations when you're boss fighting because if a boss can be injured, it basically means you don't really need to bring a big healer as long as you can get that off every turn, which you can because it applies the buff to your entire team. And 20%, and then you got 6 units trying to inflict that on a boss pretty much can guarantee you injury every turn. Even in arena, stuff like this is useful because if we did have this unit out, I'd like to see a team of just Farvnils just killing everything because BB goes off, they injure you, they do their BBs, they do like 0 damage, and like you live through all of them.
That's true.
His leader skill is interesting too. The 30% HP and attack to all, I believe. It's definitely more than what other leader skills give, so he's good on that end too. As far as usefulness goes, he's still a 5-star, so I'm gonna give him a 3-star rating. And anima typing again. Oh.
All right. Storm, what's your take on Farvnil?
All right, so his Brave Burst is called Rust Breath. It's the 11 combo powerful earth attack on all enemies. And the thing we're talking about is the adds injury effect to attack for 3 turns. Now that adds it to all of your units. Now, injury, if you guys remember, if injury happens to your enemy then has a halved attack stat. Now, if you remember, we just recently got units called Fiora and Arden. Now, theirs was very, very similar, but completely different at the same time. Their Super Brave Burst did not inflict weakness, but it almost did the exact same thing. They had a 30% chance to have the attack of an enemy, which again, you'll end up with the same amount of attack having at the end of the day. Now, the reason why this was so cool is because there wasn't any kind of this was an ability that can't be negated. If you proc it, if you hit that 30% mark, it's going to happen. Whereas injury is a status effect, and there are so many boss units, so many trial fights that they're just immune to these kind of things. They don't really have a place in the further on in-game competition because it's just it's something that most things are immune to. So while it's nice to see that on this 5-star form, we already know that it's been outdated. It's been replaced with Fiora, Arden, and a couple of other units who are going to have that unique skill, such as Belfura. Units who have a way of getting past the immunity to status ailments. So while it's cool, I like the fact that he gives everyone the chance to do this. It's an older thing. It's been replaced. It's like trying to use I don't know what's something old. I don't know, something old and something new. Analogy. You guys can make it for yourselves.
And your ranking?
Now, I mean, as far as the rest of this unit goes, that's the downsides to him. There's a lot more to him than that. He's got mediocre stats, with 18, 15 attack at Lord that goes up to 20, 52 at Breaker. I mean, again, this is an attack unit. Now, one of his saving graces is his leadership skill. Normally, you have to choose between whether you get that 30% boost to HP or that 50% boost to attack. His is kind of the best of both worlds. His is called High Ruler's Chakra. It gives a 30% boost to attack and max HP for all units. So you're getting the ability of Exfil, of Trident. You're getting that 30% boost to HP, but you're also getting 30% boost to attack. So you're dealing so much more damage. At a breaker with his 2,000 attack stat, now you're having 2,600 attack stat on a 5-star just because of that 30% boost, which is great. It's fantastic. So I'm a huge fan of this kind of best of both worlds leadership skill. So for that, he's going to get some definite major points. He's got a 9-hit normal hit count. He's got like 2 drop checks per hit. His Brave Burst costs a low cost of 25 BC, and it does 11 hits and whatnot. So I'm going to go with Breaker for his typing because, again, damage is key for everything. There's a lot of mitigation units out there, so if you're not, if you're worried about surviving, just bring up mitigation, a healer, etc., etc. So Breaker, and I'm going to give him 3 stars. I don't like his Brave Burst. I do like his leadership skill. I'm really interested to see where he's going to go.
And that was 3 stars, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Viewers voted how many stars?
Well, they agreed with us and also said that 3 stars is the best at 15. And I
High
guess
five to the viewers.
He's a dragon, so then second place is 5 stars. 11 votes.
So far we've gone through 3 units: Eris, Belfura, and Farvenal. Do you think, predict ahead of time, in their 6-star forms, are they going to compete with the top-ranked units right now? That is Ultor and Trident and Zelnite.
I don't think so. Zelnite was created to become this amazing unit who didn't excel in any one thing, but was just like this jack of all trades. He had all these different buffs attached to him. He had an amazing stat base. So I don't think Zelnite's up for any competition anytime soon. But I think what we have here is slightly upgraded versions of older units, especially with Erus. Erus is the slightly upgraded version of Lilith. He doesn't do the one attack like Rogan does, but he has Rogan-like stats with the multi-hits like Lilith. And why the multi-hits are good is because they're so much easier to spark as opposed to Rogan's, where you have 1 chance to spark, 1 chance to crit. So it's more risk but more gain, whereas Eris is going to be consistently higher if you're having problems with sparking and critting.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. The next unit up is the Thunder unit, Shara. Now, when we did like a summoning, multi-summon event earlier, where Lance summoned and then I summoned afterwards, we were all looking to get a Shara. So Nova, what is so hyped about Shara in the first place?
Oh, well, Shara is like when people first kind of discovered Olu for the first time. This is way back when there was this thing called Xenon and Estia, and people died, and people got scared. And then there was this unit called Olu that could reduce damage by 1/2, and people were like, oh, you should try him out, get a friend, you'll probably be able to live because of it. And, a couple of months later, now we have Darwin Shell, now we have Narza, and 6-star Olu, and now we get Shara. And a lot of people like attacking units, mainly for their Battle Crystal drop generation. And I'd have to agree to a certain extent, depending on the dungeon. Now, Shara does the same thing where, you attack on your BB, single target attack, and you get this 1/2 damage mitigation. And that's 100% guaranteed, unlike, the newer forms of attack down debuffs like Fiora or Arden. So it's definitely something that everybody wants to have. And I'd have to agree as well, because if you don't have any sort of damage mitigation, you can't really make it too far into the later stages of the game. You're always going to have to find yourself bringing a friend who has that half damage mitigation. So just for that alone and how necessary it is, I'm giving Shara 4 stars. And stats wise, and I actually dual sphered my Anima Shara, so I gotta go with Anima. Right, guys?
Sure. So Nova mentioned about the damage mitigation. Now, we have other units that do the same thing. Storm, do you agree that Shara is going to be one of those OP units in the future? But we already have units that can do that.
So here's how I look at it. People saw Olu came out, and Olu was like, "Oh yeah, he's got this brand new skill. It's definitely useful. I can see a use for this. I can see why it's important. I definitely want this unit." Then Darvin Shell came out, and Darvin Shell was a game changer.
Hmm.
Darvin Shell, it wasn't that he was like unbalanced or anything. He had very, very similar stats to Olu. Now he didn't give off as strong as defense buffs, but what he did was he attacked when he used his super brave burst, his brave burst, any both of his mitigation. He had drop checks. So he wasn't just this hole in the water that you were throwing BC at and hoping that it would pay off. He was gaining back some of his own BC. He was going out there, he was dealing damage, he was doing mitigation, and he was gaining BC. He was doing all of this extra stuff that, while Olu, a great unit with very similar stats and a better defense buff, just wasn't doing. And so that's what made Darvin Shell so good. And so what Alum has done is they've tweaked Darvin Shell just a little bit more, just a little bit more. They went from Olu to Darvin Shell. Now they've gone to Cher, and Cher is just a little bit higher up. She does more hits. She has slightly better stats, and that alone is making her amazingly powerful. If you compare her to Olu and you skip the Darvin Shell gap, you're looking at this huge gap in between abilities. So we've got Shara right now. She's 5 stars. She's got an 18 cost. She only does 4 hits on normal, which is a very low drop check, and she only her Brave Burst has 8 hits. But she has 2 things I like. Her leadership skill is called High Ruler's Magic. It's very close to what Luca and Kuda both have, and it's a reduction in the BB gauge required to activate. Now hers is 15%, and I believe Kuda got buffed up to 25% recently. So it's not the top tier, but it's definitely nice. You'll activate your Brave Burst sooner if BC generation is a problem. Now, her Brave Burst is called Vanishing Bolt. It's an 8 combo thunder attack on a single enemy and reduces damage taken by half for 1 turn. So like Eris, we've got a single target Brave Burst, and instead of having that BC gain, now we have a damage mitigation. So that's really important. Her Lord stats are 5,021 HP, 1,702 attack, 1,664 defense, and 1,573 recovery. With mitigation units, I want them to survive. All right, so I know that they can do attack, but that's not what they're there for. They're to survive, and they're to gain BC, and they're to mitigate. So my ideal typing here is definitely going to be Anima to give her that 5,600 HP, and I would definitely give her a 4-star.
Okay. So do you guys think Shara will displace Orna as the top Thunder unit?
100%, just because of that damage mitigation.
All right. And for people who are more like free-to-play players, they've summoned a Darvin Shell. Is it necessary to summon a Shara as well?
Well, the thing is, people are greedy and they always want everything. But if you do have a Darvin Shell, it's not necessary to have Shara, but it is, nice to have a Shara because it is the upgraded version of Darvin Shell. Better stats, better BB and SBB skill, and I guess in the long run, it's nice to have both, but is it necessary? Not really.
Okay.
It's absolutely necessary. Darvin Shell is a dude. Shara is a grill. I want to have my units become a giant harem full of grills. And to do that, I have to replace Darvin Shell with Shara.
Oh, okay.
All right,
well,
so for all you grill lovers, Shara's your lady. All right. Viewer votes.
Well, I think everybody loves Shara because we have an overwhelming, this isn't even funny, 60 out of our 68 votes are for 5 stars, which is completely insane. Yeah. Just a little bit.
Well, I guess we'll just wait till her 6-star form, and we'll have double the amount of votes for 5 stars.
Oh, we need to get past 420 for that, guys. 420 votes.
That's right. All right, we're nearing the end, and next unit up is another female unit, another grill. It's Priscilla. All right, what's the difference between Priscilla and Varved and Cher and Farvnil? Well, she adds paralysis and weakness to attack for 3 turns. So Storm, can you give let people know what paralysis and weakness does?
Paralysis paralyzes you.
So the enemy can't attack.
It means you can't move for a single turn. It means you
Oh
can't move
man.
for a single turn. With enough paralysis, like if you can get your paralysis to be a 100% thing, you can lock your enemy down and just keep stomping on their face over and over again until they die. Which is kind of the reason why we were really impressed by Frosty in the last few
Oh
ways, because he has a 74% chance to paralyze somebody
yes.
uh, with his Brave Burst at level 10. Now, weakness, when you affect a unit with a weakness, their defense is halved. So it means they would take more damage. Now, defense doesn't scale really as much as you might think it does, so it's not as useful as something like paralysis or weakness or injury.
And go ahead. What do you think of Priscilla?
Just like I thought we should change Erus's name to Ares, I believe we should change Poinsettia Priscilla to Magical Christmas Land. I'm kind of upset that she did not come out before Christmas because everything about this unit is just Christmas Land here, Christmas Land there, a little holly, a little jolly, a couple of bows, and we've got a Christmas unit. Instead, we got Mecha Saint Nick, which I'm still kind of terrified of. So Poinsettia Priscilla here, we've got her 5-star form, max level of 80. It's got an 18 cost, which as you can see, our units are slowly going up in cost, which is a strong indicator that we might get a level cap increase soon. Now the Lord stats are 5,075 HP, 1781 attack, 1658 defense, and 1564 recovery. The leadership skill is called Divine Gale. It nullifies all status elements, which is awesome. Yeah, it doesn't do anything for you offensively, but defensively, I hate being paralyzed. Let's say I didn't bring my Xvel or Ulkina or whoever I have set to purge status elements. Let's say I just need a DPS squad. If I don't have a slot for a healer, I can use her as a leadership skill and have my weaknesses covered, because otherwise I could run into a Frosty, I could get paralyzed, and then slowly be stomped to death by a Frosty, and nobody wants to die that way.
I
Now,
died that
Brave
way.
Burst.
It was painful.
Yeah, it was.
Oh.
It was. I have nightmares about that dungeon. Oh. Anyways, the Brave Burst is called the Spiral Shine. It's a 10 combo light, powerful attack on all enemies and adds paralysis and weakness to attack for 3 turns. So what that means is all of your units are going to have a chance on dealing paralysis and weakness to the enemies, and it's not just going to be her. So that's really interesting to see. All in all, she doesn't have anything that really shines about her other than her sprites. The paralysis of weakness is nothing new. It's not something we haven't seen before. There are already units out there that do this, and for the most part, for questing, it's not something we can use. So most bosses are immune to it. It's not really something you need in questing. So it's interesting, but it's not that great. Now I'm going to give her 3 stars because she does have Divine Gale, which nullifies all status elements, which is a huge help. And I'm gonna have to go with Breaker because that puts her at that 2018, just over the 2000 threshold for attack.
And Nova, I thought Priscilla would come during the Christmas time, but she's not here yet.
Oh.
Was this a mistake by Gumi? Like, what's happening here?
Well, Gumi got this badge from Olim, and Olim was clearly designing this badge for their Christmas sales, and you can clearly see it. Like, she's wearing green and red all over the place, and dual swords. Like, just reminds me of Sword Art Online, the Japanese anime, and Christmas, and everybody loves grills. So this is definitely the poster child for this batch. If you don't like the dragons and dragon slayers and phoenixes and stuff like that. Priscilla, to me though, like, I've always just wanted to paralyze things. I don't know why, but I just like paralyzing things in general. It just makes me feel happy that they can't do anything. Like if I was that Frosty and I was just like chomping away at people and they couldn't do anything about it, I'd feel super great. So my challenge to you guys is get like Priscilla's on your arena teams and just like paralyze everybody all day. equip those Zeus bows, and anybody who runs into you, and you just happen to paralyze them, they're gonna have a bad day, and you're gonna ruin their day, and you'll feel so good about it. And I think that's what Priscilla is kind of made to do here, because she gives that AOE, BB and the chance to paralyze and weaken. Paralyze and weaken is definitely one of the two better status ailments that you can give, so it's definitely a thumbs up from me. And like Storm, the whole Christmas magical fairyland does indeed give nice presents in the form of paralysis and weakness. So she's gonna get a 3 stars from me, and anima typing.
Oh boy, is it gonna be an anima sweep this time? Let's see. Nova briefly mentioned that he would equip Priscilla with a Zeus bow, and just for clarification, Zeus bow adds a 15% chance of causing paralysis.
That is correct.
All right, viewers, what did they think of Priscilla?
Majority vote is at 3 stars, so they're right on there with us. Now the next closest was 5 stars with 12 votes, but the 3 stars had a 28 votes, so it's a landslide there.
Okay.
I think most people right now are kind of afraid to double cross Nova after saying that he likes to paralyze and chomp on things. It's kind of terrifying here. We're all a little scared right now.
You don't want to jump on Nova when you see him in arena, I'll tell you that.
I don't think I'm ever going to make it that far just so I don't have to encounter Nova and any kind of shenanigans he might have with the Frosty.
Okay, the last unit of the night is the dark unit Varft. There's a lot of units for this. Varufedo, and then 6-star forms like Borgias, 4-star form Lidoru, whatever. Varft, what does he do? Add poison and curse to ailment to attack for 3 turns. Start with you, Nova. What do you think about poison and cursed? We do have Priscilla with paralysis and weakness.
This is just not a good combination at all. Poison is something that you'd want to do for a boss like the Grand Jelly, and poisoning is great and all, but it really doesn't do that much damage in a single turn. Like, sure, it can knock off a couple hundred HP or a couple 1,000 off if you're facing a boss, but once again, it's only very lightly used for really long, boss fights. And I really wouldn't bring a 5-star right now anyway. That only gives poison and curse. Because curse, even though it's great and all for like arena, it still doesn't prevent them from attacking. And even normal attacks hurt a lot these days, especially with all these, crazy leaders and element damage from like Ultor, or like, you BB them and they live and you're low, like Trident. So I think out of all of the units that do give status ailments to their team, this is my least favorite, even though, I thought the demon would do more demonic things. But I guess, poison and curse does go along those lines. Looking at his stats, he's made to be like, this big attacking unit. So I guess I'd have to give him anima typing again. And his leader skill is kind of interesting, though it's not really that useful. A long time ago, there was this sphere called the Soul Spear, and when people first saw it, it was like crazy, because like you could attack and you didn't have to bring a healer, so you could just attack all day, not bring a healer. But now we have just so many alternative ways, including just attacking, that you didn't have to have that sphere slot for just soul spears and to just attack and never bring a healer, because that was an option that a lot of people had for units like Magris. That's right, Magris, who had like 0 recovery, and like they didn't want to heal that ever, so they just put a soul spear on him and he just drained life all day. So I guess that's where they were going with this guy. But there's just so many better ways right now, like the Heart Crystal generation, that even that's kind of useless. So for me, this guy is gonna get a 2 stars. And
Now, Nova, from what I've like learned over the course of our unit analysis, is that when you deviate from Guardian and you go to other
oh, oh
typings,
yes.
this means that the unit is not so good. Is that your overall thought or train of thought on this batch of units?
No, because this is the first stream of the new year, and I'm trying to turn over a new leaf, and maybe it's working. I don't know, guys. I might be going into like rehab soon.
All right, guys, we want to know if you're happy if Nova's turning into an anima lover. All right, Storm, what do you think of Varft?
All right, so the unit we're talking about is Draconian Varfed. His leadership skill is Chaos God's Possession, which adds a chance of absorbing HP when attacking. His Brave Burst is Necro Hazard, a 10 combo powerful dark attack on all enemies, and adds poison and curse effect to attack for 3 turns. This is the very definition of a demonic attacker. If your enemy is weak to both poison and curse. If not, he's kind of shiny. He's kind of nice. He's got a, his kind of pike, axe, spear, halberd thing in his right hand and some kind of demonic Rasengan in his left. His sprite's pretty cool. But, I mean, I like poison, all right? Poison's one of the cooler ones, but it's only for certain boss fights. They have to be, it has to have been something that the game is programmed to do. With Grand Jelly, it was programmed. It was intentionally left not immune to poison, so that way we would have a way of killing it to getting around that one mechanic by using poison. So that's nice. The other thing is Curse. Now, Curse stops an opponent from using their Super Brave Burst or their Brave Burst. So if your opponent is weak to it, and they get cursed, they can't use that Brave Burst. They can't spam it out on you. The best curse spammer we have right now, I believe, is either Elza or Samira. Elza having like a 70% and Samira having 80%. So we pretty much have that covered. If there was a point for it, we would be using them more often, and we mostly just use Elza for her multi-hits, for her spark and whatnot. So I mean, I like the fact of where they're going with this. It's got a very dark theme to it. It's just not very useful. The other thing is it has a chance of absorbing HP. So that's the Chaos God's Possession, his leadership skill. And like he was saying, it's the Drain Spear. Now, we do so many multi-hit AoE, SBB spam teams, and we drop so many heart crystals that it doesn't seem to matter how much damage they do to us. We're going to heal right back up as long as we can spam our SBB. So this kind of absorbing HP when attacking it's nice, but I'm already pretty much going to be completely full of HP just off heart crystals, so it's not really that useful. So unfortunately, he is going to get a 2-star. He is a very cool looking sprite. He has a lot of potential. He's just not there right now. Best typing is going to be, man, it's a rough one. We're going to go with Lord for this one because choosing any other typing such as Anima or as Breaker puts his stats in absolutely abysmal territory. If you go Breaker, he gains 500 attack, or he gains 200 attack, but he loses 500 defense for that trade-off. And so it's not a very fair trade. So at Lord, he's got 5,300 HP, 1,800 attack, 1,500 defense, and 1,400 recovery, which is kind of fair for a 5-star. It's really mediocre with these with this batch.
Now, does Varft remind you of Kaja in terms of the art and usefulness? Because I remember Kaja, summoned for him, got him a lot of times, and never leveled him up.
Well, the difference here, the reason why Kaja isn't a useful unit is because his Super Brave Burst it requires 70 BC to fill, which is a huge amount of BC when you're talking about an SVB spam team. Now, he hits like a Mack truck. Varfed doesn't bring that to the table yet. His 6-star might, but as of right now, he hits kind of like a wet paper bag.
Okay, so what did the viewers vote?
They voted at 20 votes strong, 2 stars. The next closest being 4 votes for 5-star, 3 votes for 4-star, and 3 votes for both 3 and 1-star.
So the viewers voted pretty similarly to what we voted this round. And now we come to the question, should free-to-play users summon on this batch of units? What do you guys think?
My personal opinion, since this batch is separated into 2 parts, we've got Farvnil, Priscilla, and Varfed on one batch, and we've got Erus, Belfura, and Shera in the other one. I think free-to-play users should definitely summon for the first half with Erus, Shira, and Belfiora. Most
Yeah.
of the value is going to be in Shira and Erus due to how much importance they bring to boss fighting and trial mechanics. The rest of them, unfortunately, they're very cool looking, but they're very gimmicky, and we don't really have a place for non-inconsistent gimmicky units. We already have enough of that with Fiora and Arden.
Okay, so I'll have to type that in. On the first batch only. Nova, do you have anything else that you want to say on these batch of units?
I guess in general for this batch of units here, they all look cool, and I really liked just looking at the art for this batch because I'm so tired of seeing humanoid after humanoid after humanoid batch. Like every single batch has like a bajillion humanoids in them. It's been a long time since we've gotten something like the Golden batch, with Lero, and that had beasts. Before that, it was like Phoenix and the tree. Everybody loves the tree, and Felnius. Everybody loves the water dragon. If you guys still remember him, even though he did die when Uda came out, but he was around for a long time. And it's nice to see them change the art a little. It would just have been more preferred to give them a little bit more firepower, kind of on the same level, as Aris or Shara.
Uh-huh. All right. Well,
Uh-oh.
that pretty much wraps it up for this stream.
No, it doesn't.
Wait.
What is this? My voting is getting a 1-star vote. Okay, so Trelax, you gotta change all those animas to oracles, and maybe that'll make everybody happy.
We do need to do one more thing.
Voting?
Yes, we must change them all to oracles to please the people. Yeah, change all the animas to oracle right now. Just do it.
I figure before we head out, we can tell everyone what we plan on running for what our current team is for the Earth Vortex Arena.
Oh, okay. So this is gonna be my team. It's gonna be the tree. It's going to be mossy. It's going to be an earth crystal. There's going to be a Darwin, not Darwin shell.
Ooh, the green dwarf thing.
Yeah, and then to round it all off, of course we must have the healing imp. I think his name is Fwall as my leader, and we'll see how that turns out.
I think you just listed 6 units there. I'm not exactly sure that's legal.
Shh, it's okay. It's Earth Vortex Arena. I can bring what I want.
All right, guys. So I've changed the votes to your ranking to Oracle, and now your 5-star is increasing. So people are now agreeing with you.
Thank you, guys. I knew it. Yeah, I just had to change into Oracle Master Race, and everything will be okay.
Nova, I'm looking forward to your next article on our website that will just defend why Oracle is the best typing. Can you do that for me? For the viewers?
I will have that up. Before the next UA, definitely.
Okay. So as you may know, guys, there is an article made by Nova saying why Guardian is the best typing. But this is the past. This is 2014. We're in 2015, guys. It's Oracle time. Nova's taking the stance that Oracle's better.
Yeah, because Anima, I tried, trying to have that up, but so many people have already agreed with that. So now I just gotta do a complete 180 and go recovery for everything.
So we do have a few announcements I forgot to talk about ahead of time. After the stream, we are going to have a Lancey Vang streaming, and in his stream you will have a chance to win a Hatsune Miku pop vinyl doll. So if you're interested in something like that, that should be definitely where you go to hang out. I know he's streaming Brave Frontier. I don't remember exactly what he's going to be doing, so it's gonna be some cool stuff. I know that much.
Yep. And Nova, why don't you tell people about your stream as